CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Tara Nelson.
Hello and thank you for joining us. The province has tabled a bill it says will give Alberta's regulated professionals more freedom to express themselves without fear of repercussion. Tim Brooke joins us with more on the legislation. And Tim, the Premier says she wants workers to feel comfortable expressing countering viewpoints.
It's easy to link this bill directly back to the pandemic when a number of regulated professionals, specifically those in medical fields, were being disciplined for spreading misinformation around COVID and its treatments. One of those instances in particular really got to Premier Danielle Smith. Psychologist Jordan Peterson was sanctioned by an Ontario college in 2023 after comments that the body says undermined the profession and posed moderate risk to the public. Peterson argued those comments weren't made in his capacity as a psychologist, but lost in court and was punished. Smith says this bill will ensure similar cases don't happen in Alberta. The new rules will impact dozens of workers, everyone from teachers to naturopaths to engineers to, yes, doctors and psychologists. Those professions can no longer be disciplined by their regulatory body for conduct outside of work hours, unless that conduct is violent or sexual in nature. The government has been working on this bill for more than a year.
Everyone should have the right to express their personal views freely. No professional should fear losing their license, their reputation, or their livelihood because of a personal opinion, a social media post, an interview, or open dialogue outside of working hours. We want to ensure that professional regulatory bodies keep their focus on areas within their scope.
Also in this legislation is a clause to limit certain types of mandatory work education. Regulatory bodies will no longer be able to provide any training that revolves around diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, unless it pertains specifically back to the job in question. As of now, it's unclear how all of that will be policed, but the minister assures us it will be. Back to you.
Okay, Tim, thank you. Calgary students walked out of class today to protest Alberta's legislation on transgender children.
I'm just super grateful that all of you guys are here.
Students from Westmount Charter School walked out this morning to show their opposition to Bill 9. The UCP is using the notwithstanding clause to pass the bill, which prevents kids from changing their pronouns at school, among other measures. They say they want to have their voices heard.
We just want other people in the school, we want people in the community to be aware that this is an issue and to encourage them to stand up for us. It's to unite as a community and stand for our trans peers. And yeah, it's just protests. We're tired of sitting down and watching the government trample our rights.
Today is also the Trans Day of Remembrance, a day to commemorate trans people who have died by violence. The Alberta Union of Provincial Employees says it's heading back to the bargaining table with Alberta Health Services 1 day after serving strike notice. The union representing nursing care staff say they were invited back to mediation after issuing strike notice. The AUPE says it hopes to reach an agreement, but if that does not happen, the strike is still set to start on Saturday. If a walkout happens, it will be rotating strikes with about 3,200 workers off the job at any one time. Some elective surgeries have already been cancelled. Alberta is inching closer to a deal with Ottawa on a new pipeline project to British Columbia's north coast, a project that BC opposes. But it also comes as BC says it supports a move to maximize capacity in the Trans Mountain expansion. It could add hundreds of thousands more barrels of oil per day. Tyson Fedor explains.
Pipeline politics are intensifying between Alberta, BC, and Ottawa.
Canada is an energy superpower, doing that responsibly, sustainably.
BC has now announced support for maximizing capacity in the Trans Mountain pipeline, adding about 360,000 barrels of oil per day. Currently, it's operating at around 85%. Trans Mountain CEO in August says Ottawa should focus on capacity before new projects.
Optimize the kit that you have, which you can do in steps over time, and then add capacity as it's needed. And then you have time to evaluate the bigger issue, which is, do you need another pipeline somewhere?
Adding more capacity would include more pump stations and looping pipes to increase oil flow.
BC is essentially saying that Alberta should be able to get its oil to market. BC benefits if we can, dredge the second Narrows Bridge. That allows for other ships other types of ships to make it into that harbor.
However, Premier David Eby continues to oppose any pipeline project through northern BC ending on the BC North Coast.
Let's figure out how we expand the capacity at the TMX pipeline, a pipeline that we fought tooth and nail and was imposed on us by Ottawa. But let's sit down at the table and figure out a path forward. But instead of that, all we get is a $20 million PR exercise from a premier who's in political trouble.
And for a project to the coast to be approved, that federal oil tanker ban would have to be lifted, something CTV News has learned is being negotiated.
We're doing the technicals on a new pipeline to the northwest BC coast. We have a potential to also do something similar to Churchill.
Alberta and Ottawa are expected to sign a memorandum of understanding that could include scrapping the planned emissions cap and stronger industrial carbon pricing.
I would be surprised if the MOU gives any kind of certainty to a North Coast pipeline.
Premier Danielle Smith remains hopeful Alberta can add more oil supply to the market.
What we're seeing is that there's a change in the public dialogue about the need for oil and natural gas.
And Tyson joins us now. Tyson, the Premier has alluded to it, that there is still some work to do before she submits the project to Ottawa for approval.
Premier Danielle Smith said she wanted a new pipeline project to the BC North Coast before Grey Cup Sunday on that major projects list from Ottawa. It did not happen. However, she did say today that the province is working through technical details of what that project could look like before submitting it to the major projects office in Ottawa before spring is the timeline she is giving at this point. No private backers have come forward to put millions of dollars into the current proposed project, but those may be some of those technical details the Premier is hoping will take place before spring. Back to you.
Okay, Tyson, thank you. Police are looking for an immigration detainee who escaped from the Rocky View Hospital. Jagdeep Singh is currently under investigation by Canada Border Services Agency. They suspect he's involved in organized crime. Police say Singh was at Rocky View Hospital for a medical assessment when he escaped last night. Anyone who recognizes Singh should call 911. A big Calgary drug bust at the airport. Officers say they opened 4 checked bags during routine screening last week and found 60 kilograms of hash. The drugs have a street value of $1.2 million. Police say 2 men were arrested as they boarded a flight to Vancouver. And an update on a group of people being arrested at a southeast Calgary casino Wednesday. Police were called after getting reports of theft and fraud at the Deerfoot Inn and Casino yesterday. 3 women and 2 men were arrested. There are no details about charges. Police say the investigation is ongoing. 2 pedestrians were hurt after they were struck by a minivan this morning. It happened around 8:30 a.m. at Dalhousie Drive in the northwest. A child and an adult were trapped under an SUV. Crews had to lift it up to get them out. They were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Some who live in the area say this is a dangerous intersection.
I didn't notice whether the lights were on or not, but the sun was very bright and difficult to see.
Especially right here, there's so many times where I've seen, even with when people press the lights, for the flashing lights for their crossing, people, even though this is a 30 zone, people are whipping fast all the time.
The driver did remain at the scene and police continue to investigate. Child advocates want Ottawa to enact tougher laws against online harms right away. There is growing concern about how artificial intelligence will be used to create child sex exploitation material. Families, mental health associations, doctors, and police say they all want to see legislation tabled by New Year's Eve. Here's Stephanie Thomas.
Cyberbullying, sextortion, and non-consensual image sharing are just some examples of online harms worrying to Children First Canada. As part of National Child Day, charity leaders and others gathered at Parliament Hill to demand lawmakers take action.
And so we need them to treat this like the crisis that it is and to act now.
She wants to see the Online Safety Act, or Bill C-63, tabled again. It died on the floor in Parliament when the election was called in the spring. She's given a deadline of 40 days.
Every single day, kids are paying with their lives, with their mental health and their safety.
Doctors, mental health experts, advocates, and children are calling for change.
Parents can't do this alone. Kids can't do this alone. We need the government and tech companies to do their jobs to make sure that being online doesn't mean being unsafe.
A growing concern is the distribution of non-consensual sexual deepfakes, or AI nudes, created by artificial intelligence manipulating images of minors.
AI is moving at leaps and bounds. The numbers are only increasing every year, the reporting and the offending.
Statistics Canada says online child exploitation incidents jumped 59% from 2022 to 2023. And the Internet Child Exploitation, or ICE unit, says it receives about 3,000 files a year for the half of the province south of Red Deer. Staff Sergeant Mark Auger says it might seem like a harmless joke to create, quote, fake images with AI, but the consequences are real.
You've actually created child sexual abuse and exploitation material, formerly known as child pornography, which is a criminal offense and will be investigated, which has ramifications for the rest of your life.
He adds that it's never too early and never too late to have discussions with young people about online harms. Stephanie Thomas, CTV News, Calgary.
And the ICE unit adds families need to be able to recognize bad online behavior and then have open and frank discussions. The president of the Alberta Soccer Association has been suspended from its board for 5 years after an investigation into a workplace harassment complaint. The complaint against J.R. Figueiredo was made in August. An independent investigator found he went far beyond what is acceptable in the workplace. CTV News has obtained a copy of a memo outlining the findings. The investigator says Figueiredo made verbal threats and vexatious comments about an employee, interfered with staff operations, directed an employee to withhold information, spread rumors about an employee's competence, and created a negative or hostile work environment. The former president is appealing his suspension. A special meeting of association members is set for December 9th to discuss a resolution to reject the sanctions. The ASA says Alberta Occupational Health and Safety is monitoring the situation.
You're watching CTV News, Calgary.
BCE, which owns CTV, confirms it has laid off nearly 700 people. A Bell spokesperson says the reduction represents less than 2% of Bell Canada's workforce. It includes 650 management positions, along with 40 positions at Bell Media. Bell says the move affects non-unionized management positions and is part of its 3-year strategic plan focused on delivering sustainable growth across all business units. The city is detailing the next 9 office to residential conversion projects. It's well on its way to modifying millions of square feet of vacant space into homes and hotels. But the program will need more money, and it's a decision council will have to make as it looks to lower a tax increase. Jordan Canagan reports.
It was once the site of TransAlta offices in Calgary. Soon it will be hundreds of homes.
What we see before us here today shows how, as a city, we can take a problem and turn it into an opportunity to grow in a positive way.
The next 9 properties in Calgary's downtown conversion program have been unveiled. When finished, this set will add nearly 1,000 new homes to the city's core.
We anticipate that by 2031, the office vacancy rate will be, approximately 20%. Which is, taking into consideration where we are today, that 10% impact is quite significant.
In total, the city is looking to transform 6 million square feet of vacant office space into residential over the next 6 years. It's put up nearly $200 million in funding to do so, paired with more than $800 million of private investment.
And that's why, in collaboration with my council colleagues, we're going to be considering an additional $40 million in funding over the coming weeks, next week in our budget debate.
But that consideration comes as council seeks to find savings and efficiencies. The mayor says his goal next week is to bring down the proposed property tax increase for 2026.
Well, our budget debate is all going to be about value for money, right? So when we look at the results, $7 in total economic impact for every dollar invested here, there is, bar none, no better economic opportunity for us as a council to continue to invest capital funding.
Jordan Canagan, CTV News, Calgary.
So far, the city has announced 21 downtown conversion projects. When completed, it will bring nearly 2,700 new homes and 2 hotels to the core and Beltline. Let's bring Danielle in now. We had a very sunny afternoon and a nice few days ahead.
Yeah, it was pretty stunning out there today. The winds were calm, sun was out, and that 6 that we had as a daytime high felt a little warmer than that 6. It'll be windy tomorrow. We'll talk more about the wind in just a second, but focusing on the daytime high today. We got up to 6 degrees in the city, in the double digits for Victoria and Vancouver. 6 as well was the high in Thunder Bay, in Toronto, and close to that in Halifax. They got up to 5. And St. John's was slightly warmer than us today with a high of 7. There's a look at the calmer winds. So numbers will only pop up on this when there are gusts that register at the reporting stations. This is a look at the maximum wind gusts. So 33. Not bad in Banff. A little gusty in Pincher Creek. Maximum wind gust there today was 52, and 30 in Medicine Hat. This will pick up for tomorrow. In fact, it will be one of the big stories for tomorrow in some communities, because Pincher Creek, closer to even the Crow's Nest Pass area, we're looking at up to 90 km/h gusts. That starts to reach the warning criteria. There's no warnings in place right now, but close to warning criteria gusts likely Pincher Creek and close to the Crow's Nest Pass area. 70 for Lethbridge, so that's a windy day, and 50 for Calgary, 60 for Medicine Hat. Everywhere else looks pretty tame, but these are the areas where we're looking at gusty conditions. Here's what's happening. We have a system that's been rolling through BC, now passing through northern and central Alberta. So the mountains are going to keep a lot of that moisture off to the west of us. But what we're looking at is getting, for the most part tomorrow anyway, the wind and some cloudy periods at times. But for us in the southern Alberta, the story will be the wind because of this westerly flow. So they will be out of the west. You may get the headaches because that's more of a Chinook type wind. So here we go. As we look at the future cast, you can see that we're really just going to get cloud cover at times. We'll get the wind. In the mountains, there will be consistent snowfall. And then we have some snow that will start to roll in late Sunday into the city. So your long range forecast looks like this: 10 degrees for tomorrow and gusty up to 50 km/h in the city, then 9 for Saturday. So we're warm temperatures, but gusty winds out of the west. Then by Sunday, that system rolls in late Sunday. Starts off with some snowfall that will carry into Monday. And then by next week, our daytime highs will be below the freezing mark.
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you for your company. For breaking news anytime, go to our website, ctvnews.ca/Calgary. We'll see you tomorrow.